Well, our scented garden has done very well this year, and you can see by looking at our scented geraniums just how well it has done. Now, scented geraniums are a great plant to put in a scented garden, even if they're not winter hardy. You can see these were all planted this spring, many of them just in 4-inch pots, and you can see that they've filled in great. They have loved the rain and the cooler temperatures that we've had. And I'm not going to name our geraniums specifically, except that they all are scented geraniums, and there's quite a variety out here, and you can see that even just with the scented geraniums you can get quite a variety of both textures and colors in the foliage. We have some very lacy looking leaves, and we have the larger looking leaves, and we also have variegated leaves in our geraniums. So these have been a very nice addition to our scented garden. Well, another plant that we tried this year that was new is right here. This is a plant that we started from seed, and it's an annual. This is called Ambrosia, and it is very much like Sweet Annie, and if you rub it, it has that nice sweet scent to it, and the leaves on it are actually shaped like tiny oak leaves. Let's see if I can find some down here. There we go. You can see the leaves down here, and they just look like tiny oak leaves. Now this is starting to flower, and so we don't see our leaves as predominantly, but you can see the flower heads here, and these are very nice to cut and use in as a wreath base. You can dry them and use them, or you can actually cut them and put them in floral arrangements as a filler before they start to go to seed. Now this is an annual. It takes about 12 weeks from coming up to bloom, and it self-sows, and it's probably going to be very much like Sweet Annie in the fact that it will self-sow quite abundantly. So you probably would want to watch where you put this, or you're going to be pulling up little ambrosia seedlings all over the place. Well, another one of the annuals that we tried from Select Seeds is right over here, and this is called Dragon's Head. And again, we planted it because of its fragrant foliage, and the leaves on this have a very nice scent to them. It's almost a citrusy smell, and you can kind of crush the leaves here, and it does have a very nice smell to it. And then the flower heads, we have these nice tall spikes of lavender blue flowers that are blooming right now. They've been blooming for a couple weeks now, and they should go ahead and bloom for us. You can see we've got several that haven't even started yet. For another month or so, we should have a very nice look. Now this is a plant. It gets about 2 feet tall, and it likes a moist area and sun to partial shade, and it's done very well here in our raised bed. So this is another annual that you might think of planting in a scented garden. Now the other plant that we have in our scented garden isn't an annual, it's actually a perennial. However, it's not hardy here. This is only hardy to zone 10, and this is patchouli. Now this is the patchouli plant that was used to distill essential oils, the patchouli that you smell in a lot of perfumes. Sometimes it's used just as a perfume, and sometimes it's used as a base for other perfumes that are made from it. But this is a very aromatic plant. It's actually in the mint family, and if you look here, you can see the stems of this are square. They have that characteristic square stem on them, and it's a pretty easy plant to grow. It likes moist soil, and it can take full sun to partial shade. And the thing that patchouli does not like, it does not like cold weather. It likes warm, humid weather, and we've been having a lot of that here lately. Now, we've got ours in a pot so that we can take it inside for the winter, and what you want to remember when you do take it inside is to make sure that it's not in an area that gets drafts, because that will cause the plant to not do very well. So make sure you've got it in a warm, kind of humid place with some bright sunlight, and it should grow very well for you, and you can actually propagate it from cuttings. So anyway, patchouli is another plant that is a very good addition to the scented garden. So you might try some of these for your own scented garden. Well, you'll recall that this spring we did quite a bit of pruning on our wisteria, but we weren't finished with it yet. Remember I said we'd come back and prune on it some this summer. Well, it's time to do that. Now, if you're having trouble with your wisteria blooming, this may be a way to get it to go ahead and bloom. Part of it is to reduce the amount of growth that we have on our wisteria so it can put more energy into forming flowers. what you want to do right now in July is you come back and you cut back the new growth by half. Now, the way to tell if it's new growth, you can see this long stem we have here. It's got nice green color to it. Now, if we follow this back, we can go clear back to the back here, and you can see where it starts to get just a little bit woody, but it's still a lighter color. And right down here at the base, you can see here how it's a little darker. That's last year's growth. This is our new growth that's coming out. So all of this is our new growth. Now, wisteria, again, they're very rampant growers, so reducing this growth by half means you're cutting back quite a bit. You know, I've got it out here, and you can just kind of eyeball it, and then come in here, and just above a bud, cut that back by half. Now, you can actually do this all over your wisteria plant, and what that's going to do is it's going to send some more energy into these developing flower beds here. Now, in the spring, what you're going to come back and do right before they get ready to bloom is you're going to want to come back when the plant is still dormant, and you'll actually count out anywhere from 3 to 5 buds. So as we're looking here, you can see the buds already right there, and we would just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we would cut right here. And so they'll be very short, but right now we're just reducing all of these by half. Now, you'll notice your wisteria, again, some of them will be kind of intertwined. Don't worry about being just extremely precise. Just kind of cut, you know, here, cut them half of it off, and you can do this over the whole plant. Now, another thing that you can do right now is, notice here, this spring when we were cutting the dead wood out, we missed some of it. We can go ahead and trace this back and cut this out as well right now. And if there are parts of your wisteria that you want to get rid of completely, you've got a branch that's going off at an angle that you don't want it, you can also remove that at this time. You wouldn't want to totally cut your wisteria back completely at this time because you'll be cutting off next year's flowers. But if you really don't want that branch there at all, then you can remove it, you can remove the dead, and you can cut the new growth back by 1/2 to promote flowers on your wisteria next spring.
We hope you enjoyed this video. It's part of our OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. You can also find more recent videos on our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.